So traveling to Japan is a huge bucket list item for a lot of people. And let's be honest, it's a bucket list item for a lot of people within the art community. So in this video, I'm going to tell you guys how I traveled to Japan. I went through a travel company, and I want to talk about my whole experience going to Japan, how much I paid for the trip, the itinerary that was involved, and what I was or was not able to do, just so that there's full transparency, and basically tell you about my time there. I figured that this would be a fun little video to do, and I hope you guys enjoy the ride. I do firstly want to point out that I traveled through EF Ultimate Break. I am not sponsored by EF Ultimate Break to make this video. I just am very passionate about traveling, and I think that if you are in a situation where you are fortunate enough to be able to travel, you absolutely should look into all of the options available for you to do so. As I mentioned, I went through EF Ultimate Break to do my trip to Japan. EF Ultimate Break is for anybody ages 18 through 29 to travel the world on payment plans. I put a $150 down payment on my trip and paid $329 a month on my trip over the course of the year, totaling my trip to around $4,000. They usually actually have a lot of deals on their website throughout the year. For instance, right now at the time of recording this, they're only doing $49 down payments on their trips, and the exact same Japan trip that I was on is actually on sale. So if the trip that I'm talking about is interesting to you and you want to check it out, I will link it below for you. Again, not sponsored. The total trip price includes round-trip airfare, a 14-day trip with 12 nights of accommodation because you're flying overnight, so that's two days of the trip gone. So all accommodations handled for you, breakfast at all of the hotels, 4 included dinners, a full-time tour director, 24/7 support in case something goes wrong, 2 extra mini tours within the tour with extra guides, and entrance to shrines and temples and other special locations throughout Japan. They also handled all of our transportation within the city, such as handing us Suica cards for the trains, getting us onto bullet trains between cities, and you had a dedicated coach bus between cities as well. Rooms are separated by gender, but you can request to be boarded with a significant other if you request that at sign up. When you sign up, you'll automatically be set to essentially always share a room with at least one other person each night of the trip, unless you pay for a single room upgrade. Adding to that though, I was nervous about sharing rooms with strangers, but I am very pleased to say that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I got to share genuine new moments with these people, and I made some new friendships that still exist till this day. Now, for the big question that I'm sure you're wondering. If you're on a group trip with a guide, can you go off and do your own thing? The answer is yes. Well, we are all adults on this trip after all, and we were told that we did not have to take part in every single activity that we were going on as a group. But that is what you are paying for in the end, so keep that in mind. With that being said, the toured activities for the day did not take up the whole day. And once the toured activity is done, you're able to go off on your own and do what you want around town. Go to the nightclub, go to the bar, go find a restaurant that you want to try, go shopping, go to a pet cafe. So long as you're back in the morning before the bus leaves for the next city, you were perfectly allowed to go off and do whatever you wanted. There were people going clubbing, like serious clubbing, on this trip. I'm serious. In the larger cities where you stay for multiple days, you'll also have days that are dedicated completely to you as a free day. So you can plan out an entire day in Osaka or plan a whole day in Kyoto or Tokyo and not have to worry about the tour guide at all. So you can spend those days either on your own or with a new friend that you made from the group. The tour guide also has a plethora of recommendations on how you can spend your free time, or you can just wing it, which is kind of what I did. I kind of regret doing that, but it is what it is. You're probably wondering what 2 weeks in Japan even looks like. Now, the current tour itinerary on the website has some differences from my original tour, but the cities are the same. They're just doing pit stops and things a little bit differently. But basically, you'll travel into Tokyo, then to Hakone, where you'll visit Mount Fuji, then to Kyoto via bullet train to Hiroshima and Miyajima Island, and then to Osaka, where you'll then spend the final days of your trip before flying home. When I went on my trip, we made pit stops in Nara to visit the deer, and we swung by Odawara Castle on the way. There was also a added stop at Mount Koya on my trip, in which we stayed at a Buddhist monastery for a night. but it looks like they've removed that stop from the trip altogether, which really is a shame because it was such a cool and unique experience. So before I go over some pros and cons of going through a group travel company like EF Ultimate Break, I want to take a moment to discuss some of my favorite moments from my trip to Japan. For sure, the first one is landing in Japan. This was a huge moment for me, and I cried. Seeing Mount Fuji from the Tokyo Metropolitan Government Building and the insane views of Tokyo that came with it. The walks that I would take by myself to the Konbini or McDonald's in the middle of the night. I don't know, it was just something about these night walks that just hit different. Karaoke with my group members in Hiroshima. It was honestly a lot of fun. Visiting the Hiroshima Peace Memorial Museum and Park, the Atomic Bomb Dome building is very sobering to see in person. And I read Sadako in the 1,000 Paper Cranes when I was in 7th grade. Seeing Sadako's actual real paper cranes in the museum sent a shiver down my spine that I just won't forget. Miyajima Island. It's like something out of a Ghibli movie. I just can't explain it. Everything there feels so powerful and ethereal in its own way. I really wish that I could fully explain it and put it into words, but I just can't find the words. So with that, let's compare a few pros and cons of going on a trip like this. A few pros: mostly worry-free. Everything is taken care of for you. All you have to worry about is ensuring that you have enough money to spend during the 2 weeks that you're in Japan. The walking tours were informative and very educational. If you're into the history of where you're visiting, the tour guides are very knowledgeable on what they're talking about. The guides were also very easy to talk to and get along with. Maki, my tour guide, was very funny and loved to make jokes to the group. I can't save money, so seeing my trip as just another bill each month until it was paid off was much easier for me personally because, frankly, if I were to have had to save the $4,000 for this trip, it just wasn't going to happen. Because we're all adults on the trip, you have much more freedom than you would during a school EF trip. I also went on a school EF trip to Europe, so I absolutely know that this is a fact, because man, that trip was locked down like a damn prison. And the convenience of not having to do it all on your own. Some of the cons. Early mornings. We'd often have to leave around 6 to 7 a.m. to get from one town to the next, which kept us on a little bit of a tight schedule. Feeling overwhelmed when I actually had free time because I made no plans. Since I didn't have to plan the trip in the first place, personally, I did not prioritize making plans for my free time during the trip. So I kind of regret how I utilized my free time. And I wish I spent it on more unique and memorable things rather than heading straight for tourist traps. The walking tours of the cities are very long. I just want to chill a bit, you know? But you can't. Feeling confined to a schedule when you're just wanting to be left to explore. And finally, you pay the price for the convenience of not having to do it all on your own. So yeah, a trip planned through a company like this, it's probably going to be more expensive. But you gotta weigh if you want the stress of planning it or not, if you don't want to deal with it, if you do, if you love planning trips, then plan your trip, but I can't handle it. So I'm glad that I went through the company personally, because how else was I going to go? You know, like, I just feel like I wasn't going to end up going had I not gone through EF. And if you made it this far, I really appreciate it. This video was meant to be informative about your guys' options to make your travel dreams come true. And again, this video is not sponsored. I just had such an easy time traveling with EF that I just want you guys to know that there's other options out there. That's all that this video is meant for, but I was trying to be as transparent as possible about my experience. I had a fantastic time in Japan. I have zero regrets regarding how I went. I just wish I spent my time a little bit better when I was over there. That's really my only takeaway about my trip. If you have any specific questions about my time in Japan that I did not cover, please leave them down below. I'd be happy to answer them. And with that being said, thank you so much for watching and have a wonderful day and a happy new year, because that's coming up. Bye-bye.